Utilizing visual aids during a presentation. Although visual aids can serve as a helpful resource during a presentation, they can also distract the audience from the main points of a speaker's presentation if not used properly. One of the most pervasive problems with using visual aids such as PowerPoints, flip charts, whiteboards, display boards, and props is that speakers often allow them to become the presentation, making the presentation boring, monotonous, predictable, and even longer than it should be. Because all of these will reduce your ability to present your points professionally, speakers should take time to practice handling whatever visual aids they are using. Here are some suggestions on how to effectively utilize a variety of visual aids. Multimedia. There are a couple of things to remember when using PowerPoint, Keynote, or Prezi as visual aids. First off, presenters need to be aware of how the equipment in a setting actually works. In the case of student presentations, take some time at the end of a class session a few days before you are required to present and ask your professor how the remote works. Bring in a sample slide deck to ensure that your design, colors, fonts, and photographs are able to be seen in all areas of the room.
Here we go.
If you want to show a video, how do the speakers work? How loud are the speakers?
I pondered my kings.
Take a few minutes to become familiar with the equipment, as it will ease your nerves on the actual presentation day. The next issue is that presenters try to read their slides to the audience. When speakers don't take advantage of design rules for putting text on a slide, they place too much text on one slide and then fail to prepare proper speaker's notes. Speakers often think they can simply put a bunch of words on the slide and not have to prepare note cards. There is nothing professional about seeing the backside of a speaker and listening to him or her read every single word of the slide. This is a waste of the audience's time. To counteract this tendency, place fewer words on your slide and remember to square up with your audience after you switch the slide to the next point. You can look at the slide to ensure that the proper information is on the slide, but then you need to direct your attention back to the audience. When we say square up with the audience, this means your toes should be pointing towards the back of the room, allowing your entire body to face the audience again. And guess what? This takes practice. Speakers need to practice speaking with the slides, making notes if necessary within their note cards. Flip charts and whiteboards. These are normally seen as low-cost and low-technology methods of providing visual aids, but also gets audience interaction and immediate feedback. Brainstorming, creating lists, and providing real-time examples are perfectly displayed on flip charts and whiteboards. However, speakers need to practice writing legibly and large enough for the audience to see the text. And be careful about turning your back to the audience too much. Try to angle the flip chart so that you can write on it without having to completely turn your back to the audience. For right-handed speakers, this may work best if the flip chart is located on your left as you face the audience. Practice using the flip chart or whiteboard before presentation day. Display boards. For presentation settings that do not allow for the use of multimedia, a trifold display board can be effective as a method for showing visuals. Props. Bringing in the actual item or product being discussed is often helpful. Handout. Another common visual aid is the handout. Professional-looking handouts can enhance your credibility and convey information to the audience that the members can take with them. Handouts should not just allow the audience to follow the exact presentation. A handout should add new information or provide a summary of the information. Students may wonder when to distribute the handout to the audience. The common rule of thumb is to think about when the audience needs the handout. If you are referring to the handout during your presentation and the audience needs to see what's on the handout, then distribute that before the presentation begins. If the handout is merely a supplement or it is needed to review your information, then distribute it after the presentation. An important aspect of handling visual aids is to be prepared to handle any emergency. Anytime you plan on using a visual aid as a part of your presentation, thinking about the worst-case scenario is a good idea. Projector bulbs burn out, computer systems can be incompatible, and thumb drives can be lost. Try to come up with a plan to handle these emergencies. If something happens, don't get angry, just be flexible and work with it. One way to avoid an emergency is to have your presentation saved in multiple ways. Use a thumb drive, email it to yourself, and perhaps use a CD. Secondly, have a backup plan in case of projector issues. Provide handouts of your slides or have a whiteboard and a dry erase marker handy.